Hello, Karen. How are you? Sorry I'm late. I had a reading tonight. It looked really good for me. My future is good. I got three really positive surprises. The one is me getting married. The other two, I don't know what they are in my life. So, how has everyone been? Yes, we are going to start off with a story. Hi, Kenneth. How are you? Thank you for the thumbs up, honey. So, what have you been up to? Mason, don't you go anywhere. I gotta text somebody. Somebody wants to see you. Hold on, I gotta text her. Yeah, hold on. Don't go anywhere. Please stay here. I gotta find her. She's probably up here. There she is. We all miss you. Ah, damn it. God. Okay, I'm back. Belinda. Belinda wants to see you. She's been asking me where you been. I even left you text messages. But I'm happy you're here. I really miss you. Wow, butter chicken? Never had it. Yeah, I'm getting ready to read a story, and it's going to be a real long story tonight. Hey, Belinda, Michael, are you here? She hasn't come to me yet. Okay, you stay here. I'm going to bop you in the nose one of these days, Mason. I text her, but she ain't saying anything yet. Let me write this. Ooh. Michael, if you're here, let Belinda know that Mason is in the stream. I've been good. Getting ready to get married next month. I had back surgery over a year ago. It's been a long time. Oh, I bet. I gotta go for some testing, so blood work and the woman's stuff. Yeah, I gotta do all that. She needs her rest. Dang it. Belinda, wifey, get up here. The story tonight is called Gettysburg. Oh, yeah, I had to come home with a machine on my back. It draws the blood up to the surface so you can heal faster. Kenneth, did you already leave us? What the heck? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I got it in the bedroom. But we're going to take that one out and put a smaller one in. I got to find somebody that will help me. She just answered me. She said, "Yeah." No, this one here, the one that's in our bedroom now needs fixed. So I'm going to put it in the shed. And from there, we'll see. But I got a smaller one that Jill's grandmother had. Hi, Michael. You watch for those trolls. I missed you guys last night, Mike. Would you and wifey go to bed early? I was on for 2.5 hours. I read a story. Then I read all my crystal boxes because I'm doing something different with them. And I got to find one paper. I don't know where it's at, but I got to find it so I can read the last one to you guys. You didn't? Yeah, I went live. It's okay. You guys will probably go back and watch it. I don't even know how many views it got or anything like that. Let's see how many views it got last night. Only 53, 10 thumbs up, and 3 comments. Okay, Dave, he liked the death chair story. Karen's rewatching. What? Did you get that one? God damn it. What's going on? Oh, they should have a noise limit. Thank you, Mike. You get mine up on my phone. I think you're still with wifey. There. Yeah, people don't have no consideration about anything. Oh my God. Okay. Knock it off. Whoever it is knows I have problems with Betty too. I don't think it's them. I think it's someone else. Really, I do. I think it's someone else that's doing it. And they know I'm having problems with J-Mac. You guys just stop. What business is it to you if J-Mac does move Mike in? It's not your business. Maybe I'll move him into my home. And it's none of your business. And quit calling her a beluga. I don't like it. She's my friend. And I like her a lot. Now stop. I like Mike too. Stop. Stay away. Okay, on with the stream. Yeah, I had a real good reading tonight. It's saying I got 3 days that are 3 events that's going to be in my favor. Hi, Karen. Hi, sis. How are you? No, they don't. We just go on and on and on. Why didn't you turn? Oh, now you turned. Okay. Okay, Karen, you're blue. Yep, tonight's story is called Gettysburg. Krug, you hiss one more time at Ouija, I am going to thank you. Or if you attack her, I'm going to spank you. You're welcome. I'm getting trolled tonight. And I need people in here to whack them. Been getting trolled every time I come on lately, it seems. I don't bother them. Then they come in here and bother me. Make sure you report them. Make sure you put down harassing others. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to report. Let's see. Okay, that's done. If that don't work, I'll call. Hmm. Okay. This is a real long story. Huh? Now we're going to read a story, Mike. It's called Gettysburg. Through the past, this is what's wrote on the page before I start the story. Through the past is always receding in time. It never really goes away. Just as we as individuals are shaped largely by our past experiences, so too does our society exist as an evolution of ideas and actions over time. What is our culture but an accomplished accumulation of the general beliefs, assumptions, and popular expressions that have developed over the course of our history? The idea that past is present, however, takes on a completely different meaning where Pennsylvania's supernatural legends are concerned. For woven into the tumultuous history of the state are a number of ghostly tales that have survived over time. What sets the stories in the following chapter apart from the rest of the book is their historical backdrop. Set in time and place, central Pennsylvania was and is today. Not only are there ghostly being rooted in sufficient events of the state's history, but slightly of them continue to be reported to this day. A solid, if unsettling, demonstration of how the past repeatedly come back to haunt us. Okay, Gettysburg. Wait a minute. Before the Civil War, little about Gettysburg distinguished it from any other small municipal settlements in Pennsylvania, relying largely on agricultural activities for subsistence. The town was best known for its position at the hub of 6 highways. This humble claim to fame changed after the event of July 1st, 1863. That morning, two Confederate brigades, tired, hungry, and badly in need of supplies, crested here her ridge, a promontory overlooking the sleeping town. Brigadier General James Archer and Joseph David have no idea they were initiating the deciding battle of the Civil War when they ordered their units to occupy the town. The Union forces defending Gettysburg put up what resistance they could against the advancing Confederates, and they spent much of the fateful morning staging a fighting withdrawal from the superior numbers on the southern side. The scale of the engagement increased dramatically as the Confederates pushed through the street of Gettysburg. Reinforcements from both sides continued to arrive as the day wore on, with the last soldier marching into the area just before midnight. The next morning saw General Robert E. Lee, entire army of the Northern Virginia, 75,000 strong, arrayed just south of Gettysburg, glared across the General George G. Meade's 97,000-man army of the Potomac. By then, it was obviously that something terrible was about to happen, and it did. From July 1st to July 3rd, the roaring machinery of the Civil War claimed over 50,000 American lives, making Gettysburg the bloodiest battle of the four conflicts. In fact, measured by the sad scales of human tragedy, the losses incurred at Gettysburg dwarfed those of any other battle of American history. Hi, Angela. Although the United States military was unweathered more than one tragedy since inception, the horror of Anamine, Pearl Harbor, or D-Day, taken individually, do not match by sheer volume the unforgiving brutality of Gettysburg. Given the bloodshed, it is any wonder that Gettysburg is considered the most haunted place in the United States. If a single untimely death can cause a disgruntled spirit to haunt an area for years, what happens when tens of thousands lose their lives in the staggering horror of battle? It could be the sheer trauma of the event leading up to death, or the lasting acrimony of those soldiers reluctant to give their own lives for abstract political ideas. You were married at Pearl Harbor. Wow. Now I lost my place. Perhaps it was the deep historical significance of soldiers' actions. They marched over the battlefield during those 3 days. Whatever the case, Gettysburg today is filled with the spirits of men who fought and died. They're well over 100 years ago. I wanted Halloween. Oh. Among all the ghostly occurrences that have been witnessed in National Military Park, the supernatural sightings on Little Round Top and the Devil's Den have received the most attention. That's where I want to go, Little Round Top, when I go down there. Well, me and Don go there for our honeymoon. Okay. Not surprisingly, it is around these two locations near the southernmost limits of the site that much of the battle, most critical combat took place. Little Round Top, a forested hill that loomed over the Union lines' left flank, was a valuable strategy location for both the Confederate forces and the Union Army. If the Confederates were able to take high ground on Little Round Top, their evaluated position over the Union lines could shatter General Meade's entire flank and secure victory for the rebels. Little Round Top, the site of the decisive Gettysburg engagement, is also the focus of much unexplained paranormal activity. That is a picture of Little Round Top. Therefore, it would seem imperative to the Union strategy that is left flanked by anchored with a strong defensive position on Little Round Top. But the Union command had initially overlooked the importance of the hill and had left in virtuality unoccupied, instead positioning the left flank army on rocky ground near the base of the Little Round Top, a boulder-strewn stretch of land known as Devil's Den. It was at the Devil's Den of the Confederate attack of the Union's left flank began. The fighting for Devil's Den was fierce and bloody, raging back and forth for much of the day. Sharpshooters nesting between the massive boulders traded lead with each other on lines of infantry advance, took over, retreated, then advanced again over the now bloody uncropping of rocks. Oh, rocks. The seesaw battle ended with the star and bars waving over the Devil's Den, and with thousands of battered and bloodied men, with Georgia and Texas standing among nearly as many dead. The legendary assault on Little Round Top began soon after the Confederates attacked the Devil's Den. Union command became aware of the imminent danger Little Round Top posed to their position when Union engineers on lookout became suspicious of the hill's heavily wooded southern slope. Ordering a shell to be fired into the area, he was startled to see the sudden gleam of countless gun barrels and bayonets. There was no mistaking that he saw in the trees an enormous body of Confederate infantry posed to make the ascent up the suddenly strategically critical hill. Immediately immediately aware of what this Confederate move would mean to the Union position. The officers relayed a desperate message to General Meade, who ordered the hill to be defended at once. Brigadier General James Barnes arrived at Little Round Top just in time to get the advanced Confederates inaugurating what would become one of the decisive engagements of Gettysburg with a devastating volley of rifle fire. The enormous loss suffered on both sides over the next few hours would transform Little Round Top from an anonymous hill rising out of farmland of southern Pennsylvania into a site of massive carnage. Waves after Wave after wave, Confederate soldiers rushed up the murderous slope only to be repulsed by the shrinking line of Union men at the top. The hardest pressed regiment holding the crest of Little Round Top was the 20th Maine, and that's true. The 386 men in Chamberlain, I think Chamberlain's my favorite unit, guarded the southernmost tip of the entire army of the Potomac. Just before Chamberlain's superior officer galloped off to supervise the rest of the defense, he reminded the colonel of his incredible responsibility. You understand? You are to hold this ground at all cost. The regiment onerous duty to protect the left flank was made even more difficult by the 15th Alabama, who was charging up the hill and constantly threatening to outflank them. Stretched thin and running out of powder, the 20th Maine held off one charge after another, repeatedly, sending the Alabama rebels into a retreat toward the base of the hill, where they would regroup and come again. As the 20th Maine casualties mounted and their ammunition dwindled, Colonel Chamberlain gave the order that would win him the Medal of Honor. 6 bayonets, the colonel yelled over the roar of the gunfire and cannon blast. Although it seemed hard to believe, every soldier along the line knew that their situation was about to get worse. Their colonel intended to order them out from behind their covered position to charge the Confederates below. There was precisely what he did. In the next moment, the seemingly suicidal command came down the line. Charge! For an instant, it seemed like the 20th would not be able to carry out this order, as the regiment balked before the sight of the Alabama regiment below. But the bravery of the single lieutenant challenged the courage of each and every man on top of the hill, obeying the command without any hesitation. The man charged down the slope alone. A few seconds later, the 20th Maine was surging forward right behind him, rushing down the southern slope a Little Round Top, Colonel Chamberlain leading the way. No one there had any way of knowing it at the time, but the redoubtable Chamberlain was leading them to glory. The suddenly aggressive move caught the Confederate regiment completely off guard, and they reeled under the onslaught of the surprise counterattack. After a few hurried moments to hand combat, the Alabama regiment broke, retreating from the hill with the sound of the cheering Union men behind them. Colonel Chamberlain and the 20th Maine have saved their flank. The extraordinary The extraordinary counterattack of the New England Regiment that day was matched only by the extraordinary scope of the slaughter. Dead men, both Union and Confederate, were littered across the Devil's Den. The narrow gulch that dipped down between that rocky battlefield and Little Round Top was so choked that the bodies of fallen soldiers that it became known as the Valley of Death from that day onward. And the slopes of Little Round Top itself was virtually blanketed with bodies of the slain. The Confederate attempt on the Union left have been thwarted, and the next day, the hottest fighting moved north along the line. A few weeks after that, all that was left in the area were memories of the brutality of the July day, memories that were determined not to be forgotten. It is difficult to say who saw the first ghost around Little Round Top. One popular legend has a man of the 20th Maine spotting the spirit of none other than George Washington on the day of the battle. According to this tale, it was the sight of this bold image standing before the regiment line with swords raised toward the enemy that inspired the wavering men to make their daring attack down the side of Little Round Top. Whether or not the spirit of George Washington would be so roused by the fighting as to return from his grave and lead the beleaguered men of the 20th into battle. What is this? The monument commemorates the courage of those who fought and died at Little Round Top. They got a little stone. Is open to speculation. Well, we got quite a bit. But as romantic as the supernatural legend is, there are no surviving first-hand accounts of veterans claiming to have seen the towering first president leading them forward with a raised sword. Certainly no one since the Battle of Gettysburg has said anything about a specter of George Washington brandishing a sword at Little Round Top. Although George Washington seems to have retreated quietly back into his grave, it seems that many of the men who died on the southern reach of the Civil War battle have been unable to find their own resting place. All sorts of bizarre incidents have been reported around Little Round Top over the years. Many visitors to the National Military Park who have lingered on the hill late into the day have been retreated to eerie displays. During the early hours of clear, cloudiness nights, thick mist can suddenly form around the hill, rising in the thick tendril. From the grounds where thousands fell, from within this thick fog, people standing at the top of the hill, many witness long time of numerous flashing lights coming to life on the terrain below. They reported that these lights do not flash only once, nor do they remain still. In fact, the flashes continue to regulate intervals, starting small, as if it is coming from a distance, and getting slightly larger with each consecutive illumination. By the time the lights flash for the final time, they appear to be no more than 30 yards from the witnesses at the summit of Little Round Top. And then they are gone. Although no one can say for sure, most people believe that this recurring phenomena is a supernatural reenactment of a Confederate advance at Little Round Top. On other occasions, people have spotted a transparent horseman dressed in a Union officer's uniform astride a phantom steed. Hi, wifey! The horse picks its way down the side of the hill with slow, careful steps, as if the ghostly beast is conscious that the officer on its back is headless and unable to choose the path for himself. One of the most frequently occurring phenomena is the area of the battle involves cameras. Gettysburg being the most tourist destination that it is, millions of people with cameras of every type of descendant on it at one time or another, snapping pictures or recording videos at the famous battleground. Although some mechanics difficulties would certainly be expected given the number of people who have visited the natures of the some of the malfunctions have been a little too freakish to be casual disregarded. Many visitors have found that their cameras have inexplicable jammed up when they tried capturing certain areas on camera. This especially seemed to happen in places where there were particularly high concentration of casualties. Brand new cameras have mysteriously stopped working when used to take pictures of the Valley of Death, where countless Confederate soldiers fell during the assault on the Devil's Den and Little Round Top. Many people attempting to take pictures here have their cameras simply freeze up. Film won't load, shutters won't open, or batteries will go dead. Whereas many of these individuals get angry that their equipment is not functioning. Others claim to feel a cold, uncomfortable feeling as if they aren't welcome in the spot where they're standing. Just just as this feeling always subsides when the person walks away from the area. So does the previous faulty equipment suddenly begin to work again. Out among the massive boulders of Devil's Den, a completely different type of camera related phenomenon has been said to occur. Tourists looking for this perfect shot to tuck into their photo album have reported the appearance of a scraggly looking young man, barefoot and dressed in patched up clothing, with a big floppy hat sitting atop his long brown hair, speaking with a thick southern drawl. He often gives photographic advice to people who are puzzling over shadow and light. There's your shot, he'll say, pointing toward one cluster of boulders. People who can't seem to choose that area deserves preservation on films often turn around to find themselves face to face with this young man. How about them rocks over there? He suggested helpfully. The advice he gives is almost always taken. But when the photographers turn to thank the young man for his help, they are surprised to see that he has disappeared as quickly and quietly as he came. Okay. Park managers have heard more than one inquiry about the helpful young hippie in the Devil's Den. Some tourists have no opportunity to mistake this man for a free spirited flower child. They are the ones who first noticed him when looking through their recently developed photographs of the battlefield. He appears in the pictures of the Devil's Den, sometimes faintly, sometimes much more discernibly, staring blankly at the photograph. Long hair, big hat, roughly clothed, and barefoot. What shocked most people about the appearance of this lone celluloid image is that he wasn't there when the picture was taken. This man has come to recognize as the Confederate ghost of the Devil's Den. Why he has chosen to stay behind is anybody's guess, and why he seemed to have taken an interest in the art of photograph is just a mysterious. Perhaps he was a man who once had a deep appreciation for landscape and has remained behind at Devil's Den to help others capture the natural beauty of the place. One maybe he was once like let me start that one over. Or maybe he was one of those death came so suddenly and so violently that some part of his soul is unable to recognize that he is gone. So he still hangs around the site of his demise, making himself useful any way he can. Another ghost is related to one of the most recognizable Gettysburg battlefield photo, probably taken by Timothy O'Sullivan, who was among the first photographers to arrive from the battlefield over there. A young Confederate soldier lies dead in the sharpshooter's nest, tucked within the huge boulder of Devil's Den. The poignancy of the picture lies in the clarity of the details. Whoever the Confederate is, his facial feature stands out clearly enough to distinguish him from many of the other faceless dead. There were captures of Civil War photographs, while decomposition has just begun to swell his clean shaven face. He can still see an exhausted death grimace on his face. His weapon is propped against the stone wall. He would have been shooting from behind. An open cartridge box lies next to him. He was reloading his rifle when he was shot. His unbuttoned jacket, perhaps a few sizes too big, is worn over a ruffled white shirt. Did he undo his jacket in the heat of battle? Or perhaps he tried to yank off his shirt off in the last moment of his life in a vain attempt to see the wound that claimed him. These these are just some of the questions casual observers might ask themselves when looking at this dramatic study of the man's last moments. This is before they are informed of the detail behind the photograph, for it turned out that Timothy O'Sullivan was more interested in the dramatic effect that he was in accuracy. Deeply affected by his deceased subject, O'Sullivan had the body moved from another part of the battlefield and carefully placed along the rocks of the Devil's Den, along with a rifle and a cartridge box. So it is that the photograph is a much study of a man's last moments as it is of another man's determination to take a good picture. I don't know if you guys can see it. His body's right here, and his gun's right here, and the ammo box is right there. I don't want you. While the fact behind the picture is familiar to many Civil War buffs, it remains one of the definite photographs taken after a battle of Gettysburg. A woman named Allison, who prefers to go by a pseudonym, has only seen the picture a few times, but the dead young man has become synonymous with the horrible Civil War battle for her. I'm not such a big Civil War buff myself, Allison says, but on occasions I flip through my husband Jack's books. That picture has always struck me as especially sad. He looks so young. It makes me wonder about how many boys were killed during the battle. I wonder I wonder what they were thinking when they died. Allison's husband is an ardent Civil War enthusiast, and the couple has spent more than one family vacation at Gettysburg, walking among the numerous monuments on the battlefield. Allison says she just tends to look around at the other people while Jack becomes lost in silence, trying to absorb the significance of the location or the chaos that transpired there so long ago. Sometimes Jack will take about some details of the battle, but for most part, we just walk around. There are always a few people dressed up in period costumes. During their last visit to Gettysburg in the summer of 2000, Allison took notice of one young visitor who was dressed up in such a costume near the base of Little Round Top. Something about his costume seemed too real. It's just that I've never seen a period costume look so old before, Allison said. It looked dirty and worn, and the cuffs were threadbare. But Allison was even more struck by the young man's demeanor. His face was completely expressionless. He was just standing there looking at the peak of the Little Round Top, like he was obviously to everyone around him. In the minute or so I was watching him, he didn't blink once. But that but what disturbed Allison most about the young man was the oddly familiar he was. She wasn't sure where she had seen him before, but she was certainly that she had. Thinking that he might be one of their children's friends, she tapped Jack on the shoulder, intended to tell him about the strange youngster. But when she turned back to where he was standing, there was no one there. He was completely he was completely shocked. I can't even remember feeling that way. My heart was pounding like a drum. My stomach got all topsy turvy. I thought I was going to faint. She looked so distraught that Jack got worried and led her to one of the big boulders on Devil's Den, where they sat down. By the time Allison got her bearings back, Jack felt uncomfortable enough to joke about the incident. Well, maybe he was a ghost. You know what they say. This place is supposed to be full of them. Though she laughed, those words stuck with Allison for a long time after. Almost a year later, she made the shocking discovery that answers the nagging questions she had been asking herself during quite quiet moments. Jack was off fishing, and I was just sitting around with a cup of tea, flipping through one of his Civil War books, mostly just looking at the pictures. She let out a little scream when her eyes fell on the dead sharpshooter at Devil's Den. I was so startled I dropped my cup on the floor. It was him, I swear it. That was the boy I saw at the battlefield that day. It suddenly all made sense to me. And even though I was scared, I I was also somehow relieved. I mean, I wasn't going crazy after all. Hello, Mr. Whistle. How are you? Allison did not reveal her discovery to her husband and doesn't plan on telling him anytime soon. I don't think he would take the news very well, she said today. I doubt he'd believe me, and he thinks I'm crazy enough as it is. In fact, Allison hasn't told a soul about the dead Confederate soldier. She believes she saw at Gettysburg that day. But after doing a little research of the man in the picture, she says that she isn't so surprised that his soul lingers at the battlefield. They shouldn't have used the poor man's remains that way, Allison says. I don't think he's happy that he made a show of his dead body. I think that's why he's still there, standing on the spot where he was really killed. The ghost the ghosts described here are just small samples of the paranormal activity that goes on in Gettysburg. From the bloody grounds of the famous Angle to the legendary wheat field, numerous residents have been sighted over the years. In sense, we can only expect as much. Given a staggering loss of life that occurred around this once innocent little Pennsylvania town, we can only expect that such devastation might leave an impression on the place with all the monuments, reenactments, and history lessons that centered on it. The living have continued to recognize the immense sacrifice that took place on the battlefield. As for the dead, it seems that they too are intent on making sure that people don't forget what happened during the first 3 days of July 1863. And odds are that visitors in the Gettysburg National Military Park, possibly the most haunted place in North America, will have a better chance of witnessing a supernatural phenomenon than they would anywhere else on the continent. That's good. There's your story. The next one's called Mad Anthony Wayne. Okay, what's everybody up to? So, what's everybody talking about? No one's talking? Must be everybody left me. That's okay. Like I said, I'm gonna get here. Mm-hmm. Mm. I guess I'm gonna get off here. Everyone, take care. Stay safe. Goodbye.